Yoni zvineita munduru baba vana mukoma munduru yaimone zvinoita munduru baba vasipa munduru. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 27 minutes to 10. I don't want to take a long time or waste your time, but we want to discuss what citizens must do as we head towards 2023 harmonized elections. 𝘁𝗵𝗁𝗵𝗁 Brandon Zirufamba Ndaswera. As we are heading towards 2023 harmonized elections, I've seen a lot of debate in parliament where members of the opposition have been vying for diaspora vote. People were clamoring, the members of parliament were clamoring that diasporans must be given an opportunity to choose who they want to run Zimbabwe. A very simple reason. Diaspora remittances have sustained the economy of Zimbabwe. If we stop sending money back home, that means the Zimbabwe government will collapse. It does not have any source of income. The monies that they take from tax is the money that they finance certain issues. The money that comes from the natural resources of a country are not channeled to the treasury, but are channeled to individual people's pockets. So, as citizens of a country, we should stop, or citizens of a country, sorry guys, I've got something, Panam. My name Masura Seatede. I need to talk about this topic. This has been troubling me for quite some time. If I say citizens should do the right thing, stop tolerating nonsense, political nonsense. When we say political nonsense, we are looking wholly at politics as the art of government. Politics as the art of government. We are looking at it as a public affair. Politics, if we look, when we say stop tolerating political nonsense, we look at politics as a public affair. We look at politics as compromise and consensus. Politics as power and the distribution of resources in a country. So, when we say art of government, when we say public affairs, when we say compromise and consensus, when we say power and the distribution of resources, we are looking at what we expect the government to be doing in terms of politics. But our government hasn't been doing this. They haven't been practicing this art of government. Every time, a good example, if you go on Twitter, 𝗁𝗵𝗁𝗵𝗁, how are you? If you go on Twitter today, you can tell the United States of America has tweeted that Zimbabweans, we expect you to vote in peace. Guess what? Guess what? All 𝗁𝗁𝗃 are not happy. Why American embassy has tweeted that you must vote in peace. That means 𝗁𝗁𝗃 and ZANU-PF, these people, they don't want to see peaceful elections held in our country. They want to always see disputed elections. They want always to see blood being spilled in our country. So when we come to power and the distribution of resources or compromise and consensus, we will look at such things to say, look, why are 𝗁𝗁𝗃 up in arms against American embassy for tweeting that Zimbabweans please vote in peace? And they've stated nothing. Someone was commenting that, look, American embassy is not a registered political educator in our country. So I just answered. I said, do you know America contribute to 90% of things that are used by your government? America feeds you every day. Zimbabweans are fed by Americans. If you look at the type of food that comes, it's US aid. Even the currency that you use in your country, it's American currency. Then you are saying you are happy to use American currency, but you are not happy for the Americans to tell you that you should go and vote in peace. What you want is to see people dying, to see violence in our country. So this shows what type of people 𝗁𝗂𝗃 are. This is why I've decided to say, look, that type of political nonsense, we should never tolerate it, because we've got a clique of people who feels like they own the country. If they are hungry, they go to America to look for food. But when they come to butcher people, they want the Americans to be quiet. If they want medication, medication comes from America. Paracetamol is coming from America. But they are attacking American embassy for saying Zimbabweans must vote in peace. And that should speak volumes. Zimbabwe has been rendered a lawlessness country by Emmerson Mnangagwa and his cohorts, his minions. People who do not respect the rights of Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans have got the right to vote, but they don't want Zimbabweans to vote. Zimbabweans in the diaspora must vote. ZANU-PF doesn't want those people to vote, but ZANU-PF wants their money. So the distribution of resources of our countries is something that is questionable. The power that these people hold is questionable. The compromise and consensus is questionable. Public affairs, questionable. Art of government, questionable. We have got a lot of questions that does not have answers at this juncture, because we have got a government that is self-centered. Instead of being state-centered, they are self-centered. If you look at their views in politics, are views that only benefit ZANU-PF. When you say something sensible that ZANU-PF should copy, they don't copy. Their type of politics is ancient type of politics. The politics that was done in the 70s, politics of violence. This is what ZANU-PF still believes in. But what should we do as the people of Zimbabwe? It means that most people now, most institutions in our country, and the most social activities can be regarded as being outside peaceful politics. We are no longer enjoying politics in our country. Hi Tandy, hi sweetheart, how are you? I'm good. We are no longer enjoying politics in our country. The period we are approaching is a period of turmoil and chaos. It's a period that every Zimbabwean should be embraced to say, look, we have been under ZANU-PF for 43 years, and this is the time we should end its rule, considering the results that you are seeing. Honestly, ZANU-PF 43 years after independence, they are showing us a renovated Harare International Airport. That is the development that they show you. You challenge any ZANU-PF Murakash or ZANU-PF minister, he will tell you that we have renovated Harare International Airport. Ian Smith's airport. Renovation of Harare International Airport. That is the development that they show you. You challenge Murakash, you challenge any ZANU-PF official. They will show you 200 kilometers resurfaced road from 𝗿𝗶𝘁𝗶𝗃, which reaches nowhere. This is what they show you, ZANU-PF people. They show you there is one dam project that was started probably around 1990, which hasn't been finished yet. They quickly jump to show you that. That is the development that they did for the past 43 years. But if you go right on the ground to check what development it is, Zimbabwe is a country with no roads. 43 years, they show you one retard road, only 200 kilometers length. So we have got a problem. We have tolerated a lot of political nonsense for too long. They will show you boreholes in towns. Thank you, Tand. If you challenge any ZANU-PF minister, challenge any Murakash, they will show you boreholes in Harare. They brag about boring boreholes in Budiriro. They tell you that we are doing my boreholes 𝗀𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁. And then any person who knows what development is, any citizen, a well-informed citizen who has been paying tax, who has been remitting foreign currency to that country. If you live in England, you live in Russia, you live in Australia, you live in America, you know what development is. Thank you, 𝗀𝗵𝗁𝗵𝘀. There is no development at all. No development at all. They show you rubbish bins which are never carried. Mnangagwa, we saw him distributing achikata ribbon of zvima bini zvitema zviya zvakazara zvinhu zvafushirwa nemarara munyika. This is why I had to share 𝗁𝗁's video when he was talking to the mayor of Kitwe, who belongs to the previous government, previous political party that governed Mozambique. He was saying to him, you can only belong to a political party when you are campaigning to become a mayor. You can only belong to a political party when you are campaigning to become a member of parliament. Once you win as a mayor, once you win as a member of parliament, you cease to belong to a political party. Because what will happen is you will be catering for every political party in your country, big or small. So the issue about being MDC, 𝗁𝗶𝘁, ZANU-PF ceases soon after you win or you assume office as a mayor or as a member of parliament. That is leadership that I've seen from 𝗁𝗁. Because the government must work with the council to make sure that those bins are collected, rubbish is collected. If the council is failing, the government has to know where the council is failing. But in Zimbabwe, we have got a president who belongs to a political party. Even if he wins election, he doesn't know. If he declares himself a winner, he does not know his roles or duties as a president. He spent 5 years doing ZANU-PF business instead of doing the country's business. ZANU-PF people, they show you a road which was a retard with your money and they say this is ZANU-PF that has done that. They show you a renovated airport and they claim it's ZANU-PF. They don't know that it's not only ZANU-PF people paying tax to the government. Every Zimbabwean, every citizen, you pay tax to the government. And that tax is used to renovate the Harare International Airport. Is used to build a new parliament. It's not ZANU-PF building a new parliament. It's your money used to build a new parliament. What ZANU-PF does is mine gold, smuggle it outside Zimbabwe, sell it in Dubai, and smuggle the cash into Zimbabwe and keep it to themselves. They don't develop anything. If you listened or heard or listened to the gold mafia, how many billions of US dollars they were talking about? Harare International Airport just need about 260 million US dollar for renovation. With the billions that they looted in the gold mafia, it's enough to build about 10 or 100 airports like Harare International Airport. Each province out of 10 provinces must have an airport bigger than Harare International Airport with all the cash, the monies that they looted. But they don't invest that money they looted. It's their money. They tell you we are increasing tax by 2% so that they can tap enough or sufficient funds to renovate International Airport. They tap sufficient funds to make a roundabout, a 𝗀𝗵𝗁𝗵𝗁 roundabout. They tap sufficient funds to buy helicopters. If you see the helicopters that they bought, you ask them, what are these helicopters for? They tell you that they're air ambulances. Okay, if they lift you from a place of sin, where do they take you to? In hospitals, there is no paracetamol, no hospital beds, no running water, no food, no medication, no nurses, no doctors. The helicopter will fly you to Parenyatwa, and you are admitted to Ward 10, Ward 9, Ward 7. You spend the whole night there without a nurse. You spend the whole night there without being examined by a doctor. No medication, no pain relief. What are they? Why are they taking you there? They are taking you there to die. They will say, oh, he died in hospital. That's it. Without medical attention. So, what we are saying here is, as citizens of a country, citizens of Zimbabwe, we should do the right thing. We should not tolerate this political nonsense. Gogo Aiden, how are you? Murise Gogo. Nagasimba. You understand? Because if you look at the priorities of ZANU-PF priorities, they are not the priorities of the citizens of a country. I was talking to my brother, one of my brothers today, who went to Zimbabwe and came back about a week ago. So we never met. So he came. We met today. We were just discussing. He said, Shapiro, to be honest with you, I have never seen a Zimbabwe that I saw this time. I said, why? Because Zimbabwe has degenerated into a lawlessness jungle. If someone comes to you, he will slap you. You ask him, why are you slapping me? After slapping you or taking money away from you, he will go and report you to the police. You will be arrested. The police will come and arrest you after you have been slapped and robbed. You are taken to police custody. And whilst you're in police custody, the police will ask for a bribe. He said the police are working for their pockets. Every policeman is working for his pocket, not for Zimbabwe. Every soldier working for his pocket, not for the country. Every prison officer grabbing an opportunity to make money. If he can make money for himself, because there is no salary. He said the inflation has eroded the salaries. Now, $1 stands at 4,000 RTGS. When they were introduced by Mutuli and the Mangujga, they said the bond note is equivalent to $1. I still remember some of my colleagues who are now in hibernation. My friend here, 𝗀𝗵𝗁𝗵𝘁, You can no longer see him here, or you can no longer see him anywhere in the social media there. My brother, William Ponela, my brother, 𝘀𝗵𝗁𝗵𝘁, my brother, Alexander. These are ZANU-PF people I'm talking about. They went ballistics when one bond was equivalent to $1. I asked them, how can you print a paper and say your paper is equivalent to $? What sustains that paper? They had no answer. I told them that this is a temporary measure. It's aimed to mop some $. In people's accounts. People had accounts with $, and they were converted to RTGS. If you had $1,000 in your account, the government will take it and replace it with bond paper. Today, if you have got 1,000 bonds, do you safely say they're equivalent to $1,000, which is a no? They are equivalent to about 10 cents now. So that means you were robbed of your money. The government robbed you of your money. So that destroyed business in our country. That destroyed the schools and educational institutions in our country. That destroyed the community groups in our country. It destroyed the families. And so on are the same sense non-political things were also destroyed. So why I am saying you guys must stop tolerating this political nonsense. It's a political nonsense. You don't have control of that political nonsense. They control it. But you have got, you can take action against ZANU-PF. We are going towards 2023 elections. These are harmonized elections, which I believe Zimbabweans will take this opportunity to punish ZANU-PF. You all understand the implications of everything that I've stated here. You had $5,000 in your $5,000 in your account. It was mobbed and replaced by 5,000 bonds. Today, one bond is equivalent to 4,000. $1 is equivalent to 4,000 bonds. So, how much were you robbed by the state? That is the political nonsense I am talking about. If you don't punish ZANU-PF government 2023, that means you are bound to die a pauper. And in Murugunzo, politics, Zagada says Zodzi, attracts negative intonations. I've raised here images of trouble created by ZANU-PF. I've raised here disruptions created by ZANU-PF. I've raised here issues of violence done by ZANU-PF. If you have been on this platform for quite some time, I have even raised issues of deceit, manipulation, and lies by ZANU-PF government. Mnangagwa has lied to you for years. They've manipulated election results and introduced the results of their own, which were not the results on the ground. We must stop that rot. Until when should we continue with such type of deceit? This is where I'm calling upon Zimbabweans. I'm calling upon citizens of a country, Zimbabwe, to say you guys must rise up. Now all of us can believe Mugabe, why he said there was no successor in ZANU-PF. You are right. Mugabe told us. You know Mugabe, this is why I always tell people that Mugabe was too educated. He surrounded himself with dead wood. People who cannot reason. Imagine Mudara Chiangwa addressing the nation. You cannot comprehend whatever he's saying. There is no coherence in everything that he says. Since he became vice president after the coup, he has delivered nothing in speech to the people of Zimbabwe. He comes live on Facebook, on ZTV, radio. Listen to him. At the end, you cannot tell what was the objective of the statement. He lacks coherent. He doesn't have coherent. What he thinks and what he says are two different things. So Mugabe was right when he said, look, I've got no successor in ZANU-PF. Even before he died, he said the only person on the list of candidates that I've seen for 2018 election, the only person suitable to run this country is none other than Nelson Chamisa. He died hating ZANU-PF. Mujuru died hating ZANU-PF. Every ZANU-PF person died hating it. Even at one time, Mnangagwa said, passing ZANU-PF before he was sacked from ZANU-PF as vice president, and he fled the country into Mozambique, and then finally in Zambia, where he issued, finally in South Africa, where he issued a statement that ZANU-PF wanted to kill him. So they don't believe in peace. They believe in killing. These people, they believe in murder of other politicians, in murder of Zimbabweans. They are ready and willing to sacrifice the lives of Zimbabweans. They are ready and willing to slaughter the children of a country, citizens of a country, for the sake of an election, for the sake of a political victory. That is not a good idea. I've preached on this platform time and again about all these issues. To say, whatever I was saying, or what I was saying orally, is for you, the citizens of Zimbabwe, to stop tolerating this political nonsense. Every time we go into an election, citizens of Zimbabwe are slaughtered. Every time we go into an election, the people of Zimbabwe are murdered. The people of Zimbabwe are sacrificed, are killed by ZANU-PF. If you see recently, people who were pardoned, who were given presidential amnesty, look at the list of people who benefited from presidential amnesty. The 13 years plus I have served as a prison officer in Zimbabwe, I have never seen such a presidential amnesty. I've seen presidential amnesty, but not the one that I saw, where carjackers were released, armed robbers were released, rapists were released, murderers were released. This is first of its kind in Zimbabwe. Since the country was named Rhodesia, from Rhodesia into Zimbabwe Rhodesia, then in Zimbabwe, I've never seen that type of amnesty where rapists, people who raped children as young as 9 years, who were sentenced to 9 years in prison, 10 years in prison, only served 1 year, they were released from prison. People do not understand the idea behind that. The idea behind that, most of those people released were ZANU-PF activists. This is why you see Mnangagwa prefers to lock up 𝗀𝗵𝘁𝗶𝗃, prefers to lock up 𝗀𝗵𝘁𝗶𝗵𝗵, who are political prisoners, in exchange of ZANU-PF rapists, ZANU-PF murderers, People who slaughtered Zimbabweans for no apparent reason. How can a president of a country pardon a rapist who raped a 9-year-old girl? This is an attack on girl child. This is an attack on women. Women were vandalized. Their behinds were vandalized. Their private parts were vandalized. I have seen rape victims in my life. During my time as a prison officer, now I think I always talk about my Prat, who was the magistrate, Court 16, Paroton Court. My Prat. Every time I was on duty, sometimes I would be put in Court 16 to go and listen to these rape trials. If you happen to have followed a rape trial to the end, you will cry. If these rapists explain exactly how they raped people, you will definitely cry. You will see the reason why I'm condemning Emmerson Mnangagwa here for releasing someone who raped a 9-year-old girl. I've got a 10-year-old girl in my house. My daughter is 10 years. If I look at my daughter who is 10 years and imagine someone younger than her being raped by an elder person like me, sleeping on top of a child, forcing myself into her. If you don't cry, if you are a president who cannot visualize this happening, you will understand why Susan Mtami said she was raped by Emmerson Mnangagwa. You will understand it. Those people who were denying it, visualize it yourself, that a 9-year-old is being raped by a 40-year-old man, a 50-year-old man, sleeping with a 9-year-old girl. And when Susan said I was raped when I was a teenager, people denied it. Imagine your president of a country, feeling pity, pardoning someone who raped a 9-year-old girl. If you heard them talking, they will tell you, how long have you been in prison? 4 years. What crime did you commit? Rape. Who did you rape? A 9-year-old girl. They've got no remorse. They say it. Pachena. Pasina kana kuchka kana kuita say. Ladies and gentlemen, the more you listen to them, visualize what they did. Munane pfungwa 5 shanu. You have a vision in your mind. Ndozi apana mwana mdiki pana. Patirano akuru. Pana patirano akuru pa. Tese pana. Right. Vazhinji vedu vane varume mudzimba vari pano. Vazhinji vedu vane vakadzi mudzimba vari pano. Makarara pambedha murume nemukadzi makakeya doo renyu. You are indulging in adulthood activities pambedha penyu. Imagine the way you do to your wife, the way you do, the way your husband do on you, the way you do to your husband. Take that vision, put it in your mind. Subtract your wife for a 9-year-old girl under you in blankets. What's the vision like? I just want you guys with me to have this vision together. To say, okay, fine, let's imagine I'm on my bed. I'm sleeping with a 9-year-old girl against her will. against her wish. Let's have that vision together. What do you see? Okay, from that vision that you had, subtract that idea of saying the 9-year-old girl is not your child. Funga 9-year-old girl agararwa nemudhara uyo ari mwana wako iwewe. How do you feel? How do you feel? 45-year-old man forcing himself into a 9-year-old girl. Ari mwana wangu ini ndokuuraya. Ngataure chokwadi. If that 9-year-old girl was my child, I'll kill you. I don't mince my words. I'll kill you straight away. With whatever I grab. Kana ndikabata demo ndokutema. Kana ndikabata pfumo ndokubaya. Ndikabata banga ndokuuraya. Mwana wangu ane 9 years. Iwe dhara rachena kwese kwese. Uya ovata naro. President wenyika yeZimbabwe oya oburitsa vanhu vakadaro kuti aiwa ngavachibuda havo mujeri vongoenda, without considering the impact of that amnesty to the victim. Paari kubuda jeri mudhara uyu ari kunosvika kumusha achiona kamwana kaya achikataurira hamuna zvamunondiita ndadzoka. He's feeling proud of what he did. Guys, so the more you think about this, the more you understand why I am saying, citizens of Zimbabwe, we have tolerated a lot of rubbish. We have tolerated this political nonsense for too long, to the extent that the president of the country now does not even consult you. Because if before you do such an amnesty, I think it's wise to consult the people and listen to what Zimbabweans are saying. Tine vanhu vakauraya vana 𝗀𝗶𝘁𝗶𝗵𝘁, they are not in prison. The guys who killed 𝗀𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵 are not in prison. The lawyer who is representing the family for the murder of 𝗀𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵, for the murder of 𝗁𝗶𝗵𝗵𝗵, is in prison, saying he incited violence. How about the murderer? On top of that, you release rapists, people who raped. What I'm saying here is, you're 45 years, urepa mukadzi ane 40 years. Kana kukoti zvine matauriro ekunzi at least wangowachiva kuti munhu yakabatana vanomubata chibharo. Although a rape is a rape, you go to prison. Not a 9-year-old that must be treated like murder. The same sentence that you get for raping a 9-year-old should be the same sentence for murder. If you are to be hanged for rape, you need to be hanged. If you are to be hanged for murder, you need to be hanged for rape of a 9-year-old girl. I'm so cross about Emmerson Mnangagwa. Those people who used to say, Mnangagwa. By now, you can now understand why Mugabe said, I've got no successor in ZANU-PF. How can a political party like ZANU-PF sit down with a president and allow him to release rapists who raped 9-year-old people, girls? So this is why I've brought this idea to say, as people or citizens of a country, we should definitely stop tolerating this political nonsense. Because politics is a thought of as public life or public affairs. When we talk about politics, as I mentioned earlier on, we talk about public affairs. These are public affairs. Issues of how amnesty should be done are public affairs. The president should at least consult stakeholders who are citizens of a country when you want to carry out such an amnesty where you release perpetrators to go and meet their victims. Someone was vandalized. Someone was raped. A 9-year-old girl was raped. The person just served 1 year in prison of the 10-year sentence and is released tomorrow. He's a free man coming back to the victim. What do you think the victim will do? What do you think the victim will say? So this is where we should come in and say, we must have a distinction between this political nonsense and politics of a country, or governance of a country, the art of governing Zimbabwe. Because there is nowhere a president can govern a state in vacuum. You always interact in public sphere. You interact with the lives of people. If you allow perpetrators of rape to go scot-free because you feel like you need to be voted in power and those people are going to vote you, then you have anzi na mkomatindo tavarwisa makadi mkoma ida long time brother, it's 𝗀𝗵𝗁𝗵𝘁. Thanks 𝗀𝗵𝗁𝗵𝗁. Zviri kufamba here murisei marowa. Welcome atete QD pindai masvika tafamba nendima. We are talking about citizens of a country, citizens of Zimbabwe, that we should do the right thing now. We should stop tolerating political nonsense. I've spoken about Mugabe telling us that he doesn't have a successor in ZANU-PF. And I've touched about Emmerson Mnangagwa releasing hardcore criminals, rapists, murderers, carjackers, robbers. And to make the matters worse, I am thinking, I've told listeners here to say, look, let's visualize a 45-year-old man raping a 9-year-old girl. Imagine if that girl was your daughter being raped by a 45-year-old man. That man is sentenced to 10 years in prison. He just served 1 year, and the president of Zimbabwe feels like he needs to be pardoned. He needs to be released. He's given amnesty to go back and face his victim. Anosvika kumusha achitaura kuti hamuna zvamunondiita ndigare mujeri. Hamuna zvamunondiita ndigare jeri. But wakarepa mwana ne9 years. Let's look at the impact of the raped victim for the next for 2 or 3 decades to come. She wants to be a mother. She wants to get married. I still remember when I was doing psychology. When I was doing psychology whilst I was in Zimbabwe, I was doing criminal psychology. I was reading about a concept where a rape victim, once a rape victim is married, the ordeal of rape does not go away. Every time she wants to sleep with the husband, she starts thinking things that happened when she was raped. Sometimes unotoona mukadzi mukuru achichema, having sex with the husband. The wife will be crying the whole ordeal. It's because he's traumatized. The ordeal of being raped by an old man whilst you are just 9 years old. It's traumatic. 8-year-old people are giving birth in our country. And the president of a country is happy to give amnesty to the rapists. So we need, that is political nonsense I'm talking about. That Zimbabweans should stop tolerating that. The only way we end that is to vote ZANU-PF out of power. They have shown that they've got no remorse about rape victims, about women. They don't respect women at all. And what's the motive behind releasing those bad guys? The motive is most of ZANU-PF people from the rural areas were the ones who were incarcerated of rape. And Mnangagwa wanted a way of pardoning his people to go and vote for him. That is the only motive behind it. There is no another motive. To say a person who raped the because he is ZANU-PF, he knows Mnangagwa has released him. If he goes home, he will go and vote ZANU-PF. That is the only motive behind it. Because there is no president with common sense who can release someone who raped a 9-year-old person, sentenced to 10 years, served only 1 year, then release him to go back to face the victim. So from this viewpoint, ladies and gentlemen, let's visualize it. This is what I was talking about. It's so sad, it's pathetic that we have got a government that doesn't respect the rule of law. There is no rule of law in our country. So our state apparatus or state apparatus of a government we call public are in the wrong hands. Zimbabwe is in the wrong hands. The civil society is in the wrong hands. Businesses are under a wrong government. Trade unions are struggling in our country. Clubs and families and so on are struggling in our country because we don't have a proper government. The country is in the wrong hands. This is why I am saying 2023 must be the final year Zimbabweans must punish ZANU-PF. If you don't punish ZANU-PF, then you would know that you have planted a culture of suffering. You are Zimbabweans, you will be a family of sufferers because you have failed to free yourselves, and this defeats the concept of politics. When we talk of politics, something positive must come out of politics. As I've mentioned earlier on, that every time we are towards an election, Zimbabweans must feel that this is a chance to change our government. Because it's a public activity, elections, that allows you to choose and endorse a leader of your choice. So it is an opportunity to people of Zimbabwe to say, look, now we are going to punish this one. We are going to remove this one. And we want this one to rule us. This is how important politics should be. This is how important human beings should play this election activity. You must be able to choose. Interact amongst yourself. Choose anyone you want. Because you are equal as citizens of a country. No citizen is better than another when it comes to voting. Kuvota kwakafanana nekufa. Kukuti we are equal as death. Unofusirwa muvu. Apana achafusirwa munda werai musaga rerais kana uchinge wafa. Chinotouya pamusoro pako if watove churu for good. Saka kuvota kwakangofana. We are equal when we go to vote. You have got only one vote you cast. Apana no yachivota ka 10. Saka this is the good part of politics. It's like death. Rufu unofaka mochete uchifusirwa muvu. Ungave uri mupfumi, ungave une ndege, aufusirwe nendege yako. Unonofusirwa muvu uri mukofini. Vamwe ndavasiri mukofini. It depends on the religion yako. But chiri important is you are interred or you are buried. So chiri important is you vote. Une one vote chete. Saka vota kwakafana nekufa. If you make a mistake during voting, that is a lifetime mistake. It's a 5-year mistake. If you make a mistake, poison, that is a lifetime thing. Auchadzoki, you are dead. Sungirira, you are dead. Saka kunovhota kwakafanana nekuzvisungirira. Anditiri kunzwanana. Kuvhota gives meaning to your life. If you want good life, go register and vote. And this is the time Zimbabweans must punish ZANU-PF. That's where we become unique when it comes to voting. That's where each individual is unique. Because you have got one vote. And your vote must be used wisely. You must vote for a candidate that will take custody of your life for the next 5 years. If you make a mistake now, you know that this mistake is a 5-year mistake. The suffering that you will go through in those 5 years is man-made, because you have made your suffering, you have molded it. You have voted the wrong candidate. Once you vote the wrong candidate, that means you are making your bed, therefore you should lie on it. And because if we don't treat politics as a particular means of resolving conflict, because what I'm talking about is about compromise, conciliations, and negotiations. Let's not talk politics. Some people, they are forced to do things that they don't want to do in politics and proceed doing the wrong thing. So let's say politics must be a resolution, a conflict resolution. We are in chaos in Zimbabwe. The country is in conflict with even other nations, where we are fighting superpowers to say, look, America should not say this, and so forth. So we should treat this election as a conflict resolution, where we will go and decisively vote for 𝗁𝗶𝘁𝗶, decisively vote for President Nelson Chamisa, decisively change our lives for the better. Because if you don't do that, then you are in trouble. Let's not accept chaos. Let's not accept these conflicts that are happening in our country. Let's pause. Let's stop. Let's think before we make a move. We need to transfer complete power to a different government in our country so that your life will be better. Chatiri kuda kuchinja upenyu. Upenyu unochinjwa say you are given an opportunity every 5 years kuchinja your life and more. Let's not keep confined to ZANU-PF politics, barbaric politics. Politics of killing Zimbabweans, politics of making Zimbabweans suffer. Let's make politics work for every Zimbabwean. Because if you choose your president, that means watakura munhu waunoda kuenda naye pakona of human existence. Pakona pe human existence ipapo ndipo uchaona all your basic needs according to Maslow hierarchy of needs that we discussed last time. Your physiological needs are met. There are certain important things that the Zimbabwe government is like underestimating the people of Zimbabwe. Because munhu ukamunyima mvura, ukamunyima shelter, ukamunyima chikafu, that means you are underestimating the power of that person. In the event that person anosvika pakuti enough is enough, munopa mhanya. Because how many people are holding Zimbabweans at ransom, are holding the country at ransom? So in this sense, politics, ladies and gentlemen, it takes place at a very level of social interaction, self-interaction. We interact with each other. We talk like what I'm saying. We mobilize each other. The way I am mobilizing people, that's the same way you should be mobilizing people. We go, we vote. Once we vote, we know we have put our families within reach of what? Basic needs. Zimbabweans, they lack basic needs. Children are no longer going to school in our country. Schools have closed. There are no teachers. Teachers are not being paid. Nurses are not being paid. There is no education, no working health system. People are suffering in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has become a lawlessness country now. It is run by a group of thieves, a mafia, people who do not care about the lives of others. They care about their own pockets. They don't look at the global stage to see what Zambia is doing, what Rwanda is doing, what other countries are doing. Why are we lagging behind development? So by voting the same people who have made Zimbabwe lag behind development, that means we are moving back. We are like reversing our times back to 14th century. Because to be honest with you, we are 100 years behind the modern world. 100 or 200 years behind the modern world. Check what is happening, development happening in other countries, and you compare to development happening in Zimbabwe. Renovating an airport, someone will tell you it's a development. Retiring a potholed road, someone will tell you it's development. That means we are 100 years behind development. So we should be keeping our eyes on the global stage and see how other countries are moving forward whilst we are moving backwards. And more. So our political concerns, ladies and gentlemen, for 2023, we must ensure that we vote a government that initiate production, that initiate distribution of wealth to the people of Zimbabwe, that ensures the resources of a country are shared equally in our country. Ukaenda muZimbabwe mune vanhu vane mabillions. Tine vanhu vari kurwara vasingakwanise kuzvirapisa. Tine chembere dzakura dzisingakwanise kuzvitengera chikafu, dziri kudyiwa nenhunzi dzakarara, dzisingakwanise kunochera mvura. Hakusina mvura inobuda mupombi, vanhu vakufanira kunochera mumabohos. Tine mambuya mumisha mumatauni vasingakwanise kutakura mugomo kuzvicherera mvura yekunogeza. Kokuzoti kushandira chekudya chaicho havachakwanisi. The government is not doing its roles of feeding those people. Those are citizens who should be earning, who should be getting at least something for survival from the state. And more. So at its broadest sense, political concerns that 2023, as I've mentioned earlier on, we should be aiming for a government that will ensure production, that will ensure initiation of production, that will ensure that wealth of a country is distributed equally to the people of Zimbabwe. Amuna munhu anonzara anofanirwa kurara nenzara, anonzi afanirwa kune munhu arara nenzara asina kuwana kana 2 meals a day. That should be things of the past. So we want someone with that ability to achieve what the Zimbabweans desire. If we continue voting ZANU-PF or allowing voting ZANU-PF to steal the elections, then we will continue to suffer. So what should be happening now? As I'm talking to you, ladies and gentlemen, someone will say, 𝗂𝗵𝘁𝗶 has been talking without giving solutions. I have solutions. After elections, if they refuse to go, what are we going to do? Very good question. I expected this question from someone, 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝘶𝗶𝘀. You came up with a question that I was about to answer, because I was already talking about solutions. From this perspective, Politics is about diversity and conflict. I need to answer your question. Politics is about diversity and conflict. So we are going into an election that must never be disputed. Because once that election is disputed, then we are going to have a conflict in our country. And we are going to have blood spilled, people killed. So we need to avoid that. We should not go to an extent of saying that if they refuse to go whilst they are defeated in an election. No. Let's look a very good case study, Zambia. Zambians, they made sure that when they went to vote, after voting, they did not leave the polling booth until ballot papers were counted and the results were displayed outside. This is when people left. That is the solution we have at the moment to defend our vote. Once you vote, you don't go home. You create 𝗿𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁. Those virtues, they make sure that if muri 100, munge ballot box makagara pano muchitarisa kuti no one is tampering with it. Hapana kubirwa kwatikuita. Kusvika averengwa. This is a case study, a Zambian case study, that ensured Lungu loses the election. And we will not go to the extent of asking ourselves, what are we going to do? If we safeguard our votes, if we protect our vote, then we are not going to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? Because we will be satisfied that this election was never stolen. Because you will be there guarding those ballot papers. If you guard them, mukadyiwa madyiwa varume. Ukada tadyiwa. There is nowhere we can create conflict if we are defeated. Iwe uripo, wakaritarisa ballot box richivhurwa richiverengwa, muchinzwa kuti pana kutadyiwa pano. Hakuna munhu oenda nharo naye. That's the purpose of election. Kana tadyiwa, tikaverenga tikadyiwa tadyiwa. Anditi manzwa. It's very common. It's very simple. Hatizombosvika extend to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? Because we have voted. We have safeguarded our vote. We guarded against theft. And the results were counted. We understand. Right now, if you visit my Facebook page, you can tell I've put a link where where we are supposed to contribute the funds for this election. That is another purpose of this election. Resources, distribution of resources. Remember, we are fighting a gold mafia that is smuggling gold, smuggling cash in our country. Utilize your resources to come and bribe you to vote for them so that they continue smuggling gold. They continue with their illicit dealings, which will cost your country, which will cost you. You will die a pauper because you have allowed yourself to be used and vote for the same people engaging in illicit deals that has pauperized you, that has made your country suffer. Believe me, if you remove ZANU-PF, you will never hear about this gold mafia. And all the monies which were channeled, which were smuggled into the country, into certain individuals' pockets, won't be going there. Probably the next government will form a social benefit where they will say, okay, fine, you are not employed. We give you $50 a month if you are not employed. So what we need, Mkomakas, is to safeguard our vote, to ensure that that vote is not stolen. We will never reach, we will never go to an extent of asking ourselves, what are we going to do? And tikadyiwa election. That's the purpose of election. And tikadyiwa zviri free and fair, we need to congratulate the winner. Congratulations, Mr. Ningiso, my winner. And they can't move forward. That's my perception. So the essential ingredients here to ensure that this vote is free and fair is to safeguard our vote. So there is a platform, if you go on my Facebook page, which I've posted. Just click there, donate your £10. If you can, I'm not £50. I'm not the person running that platform. I have totally nothing to do with that platform. But I have gone to the platform and seen its importance. And I urge you to say, even £10, even £5, even 𝘁, ngati say Marielu. And we have got another GoFundMe that has been running for defend my vote. That is, we should be defending our vote. People aim to raise about 2 million. Tasarwane 1 month or 2 months to go into an election. Someone texted me, Ashindaona Marore Swift akatakura ma ballot papers. So that means election can be proclaimed anytime soon. And 𝗁𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗁 has withdrawn his court application. So we should be geared now for the actual election any day from now. Because what I'm saying is we have got we are struggling. We are struggling as opposition. The resources are so scarce. But we want power. How are we going to get power if the resources are within you as supporters, but you can't pass them on to the people you wish to implement whatever you want? Because we cannot all be President Nelson Chamisa. We cannot all be chairperson of a province or what. So what we need is to make sure we assist those who are running the political party for us, and make sure that these scarce resources are made available. We should have these resources available to help our political party achieve whatever we want to achieve. Because what we only want to achieve is political victory that will allow Zimbabweans to put a government in place that will run their affairs only. This is what Zimbabweans want. Once we have got a government that run the affairs of your life, that means the issues about production, jobs, job creation, working health system. As you know, Zimbabwe in Amari. Zimbabwe is one of the richest countries in the world, with all the minerals that can make a difference. But what is required in Zimbabwe is a government that is accountable. As long as we have got these parasites in government, there is nowhere we are going. These blood suckers, they don't care about you. They don't care about the country. They don't care about your suffering. They don't care. What they care is, are they making enough money sufficient for themselves and their families? Makaona ere mbara non se wikine mazibaba se wikine. Akauya ku UK akatenga one motikari ye £450,000. A Rolls Royce. Ukamubvunza kuti mari yakaiwana kupi? He's being paid nezesa for 580 million US dollars that he is supposed to undertake a project in Gwanda, a solar project to electrify Gwanda. But he is doing nothing. ZESA is just paying him large sums of money from your pocket. and he's using it the way it's his money. Because ZESA agreed, they signed some agreements. It's his money. They have to pay him. But is that what the people of Zimbabwe want? Are you benefiting anything? Has the project kick-started? No. So, these are key factors that you should consider when you are going into an election. We are going into a 2023 election. That election must never be a disputed election. We must safeguard against theft of this election to make sure that if we have got a victory, let it be a victory sustained by the will of the people of Zimbabwe. We all know the human nature. Kuti vanhu pakangobirwa chete pangoita one day rongoti zvatopfuura vanhu vangoti let them continue to run Zimbabwe. Hanzi ngoma inini ndiri kuda kubvunzawo kuti zve-CC candidate selection zvakapera here uye mungazive kuti macandidate achakukwidza acho anoudzwa rini. The process hasn't been completed in 𝗀𝗵𝘁𝗶𝗶. As far as I was talking to one of my colleagues who is in the race to become a member of parliament ku rural constituents, taita problem azvireve kuti hatina macandidates akawandisa ari kucontesta, but the problem yataita now, the system we utilized ndaona iri compromise, iri subject to infiltration. So I was talking to one of my colleagues who wants to be member of parliament. That's kuti the other candidate aripo two constituents andiri kuziva, one yekuUrungwe, one yekwaChivi. Macandidates aripo especially kwaChivi, candidate munhu adzoka kuvanhu achiti ndoda kuita MP wenyu, haasi munhu we-CCC, haasi munhu we-MDC, asi munhu aishanda neZANU-PF. Saka hanzi akauya asina chaanacho, vana 𝗍𝗵𝗏 vakaonekwa vachimuvhizitira vakamusiyira mari, hanzi akasiyirwa mari. He started flashing mari achipa vanhu mari. Saka vanhu ikoko unzati vanhu vekumusha uku, I condemn one of the security officers we-district iroro who accepted bribes, and they want that guy to stand as candidate kwaChivi, which is a very dangerous situation, because vanhu veZANU-PF, they have noticed that their people vaisupporta Mnangagwa vakadyiwa ma-elections, and the G40 has bounced back in ZANU-PF. Ndosaka uri kuona G40 ndo yakabata matomu muZANU. Saka ZANU-PF yadaro yakutuma vanhu vayo to infiltrate 𝗍𝗶𝗁 vachisa macandidates avo imomo. I'm rest assured that the guy arikunzi awina kwaChivi is not a 𝗍𝗶𝗁 member. Andimona. Saka one of our candidates koko is crying foul. Kuti all of a sudden this guy akatanga kuita mari, kutanga kuzofamba nemazimotikari anotyisa akupa vanhu mari kumaruzevha, ndivhotere ndini 𝗍𝗶𝗁. But ukada kubvunza nhoroondo yakahana nhoroondo iritwi. Vanhu vacho vakaonekwa vachimupa mari, vamwe vacho vanhu veZANU-PF. You understand? Because ZANU-PF now knows kuti after election, Mnangagwa akangoriga election is gonna be impeached. Because G40 ndo yabata matomu muZANU. It's no longer the ZANU-PF yana Mnangagwa yeye kuita coup. So the coup has lost grip of ZANU-PF. Saka isusu we are being infiltrated nevanhu vatotoziva kuti uyu haasi 𝗍𝗶𝗁. Andimona. Saka pakaipa, I think we have a challenge on the criteria utilized. People already are crying foul that this is a flawed criteria. Saka, let's give it a chance. I'm not sure when the candidates will be announced, but in due course, they will be announced. andinimona. Saka, as far as I understand, the criteria being used to choose these candidates, it ensures freedom to the people of Zimbabwe. People are saying 𝗁𝗶𝘁 is a new political party. Anyone can join it. Saka tinogona kondema munhu chiti asi weTRIPLEC ari munhu ajoinawo 𝗁𝗶𝘁. Because a lot of people haven't joined. They are coming to join. Some are coming from ZANU-PF. As long as they are citizens of a country. So we might call it a flawed process, or a process that ensures citizens have got a chance to choose a candidate of their choice. Kana wakada candidate wachiri ndewe ZANU achivhotorwa ari weTRIPLEC, we have got no control over that. And because our party is a newly formed political party, it has embraced every citizen to come and join it. So any citizen can be a member of parliament. So there is freedom in the context here, that the concept of choosing these members of parliament is free to anyone, and can bring freedom because you have been given opportunity, you have been free to choose. The choice is open, and your society must be tolerant, your people must be tolerant, because the president has put in place a method that is free and open for every citizen to participate. Saka, I think we are to get the final list of the candidates soon. Oh, sorry guys, I'm just feeling naked. I need more. So let's hope that will work, because as I've said, that if you look at things that are happening today, Zimbabweans, we have endured Zimbabweans, we have endured all sorts of brutality from ZANU-PF government. If I take you back, remember that we have tolerated this political nonsense for quite some time. If I take you back, if you look at the abduction of 𝗀𝗵𝗁𝗀𝗶, that abduction was caught on camera on a CCTV footage made available to the people of Zimbabwe, and there was evidence, clear evidence of people who took 𝗁𝗁𝗀𝗶 away. An abduction caught on CCTV. That is a political nonsense that we all allowed, which we should never have tolerated. We have tolerated a lot of torture, where political activists were tortured, especially in police custody at Harare Central Police Station. If I take you back to 𝗁𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗁 torture, that is evil done on non-violent civilians or citizens of a country. That is another political nonsense that we tolerated. We all want a Zimbabwe that will come in a democratic manner, where the stagger, brutality, intense brutality, and inhuman treatment of the citizens of a country is abolished. If we don't vote in our thousands, that means this brutality will remain with us for the next decade. So this is why I've decided to come tonight to talk to the citizens of Zimbabwe, to tell you guys that you should do the right thing. Come 2023, harmonize the elections. We must all ensure that we go and vote in numbers. This election must be a different election from all elections held since we attained independence. Because after independence, our CIOs were at the center stage of abducting and killing Zimbabweans. Paying them or allowing them to do that, it's a clear waste of taxpayers' money. But I'm glad that our president, Nelson Chamisa, said we cannot do away with an intelligence service in our country. We need intelligence. So he was talking about disbanding CIO to say we will not disband the CIO. We need an intelligence service in our country. But we will revamp it to make sure that it serves its purpose. How can a country like Zimbabwe lose 15 billion worth of diamonds when we've got an intelligence department? How can someone smuggle gold from Zimbabwe to Dubai and money smuggled into the country without CIOs knowing? How can people be reckless with the statements, just like Linda Masarira and this other snowball guy from ZANU-PF, telling Zimbabweans that they were insurgents trained by MDC in Zambia? And we have got a Central Intelligence Organization department that never even questioned Linda Masarira about it. Such sensitive information, which create diplomatic chaos between Zimbabwe and Zambia. Similar to what is being said about insurgents trained in Mozambique, that will create diplomatic problems between Zimbabwe and Mozambique. But we still have a Central Intelligence Organization that is supposed to intercept that information, investigate and find out. So I was intrigued when I listened to our president saying we need an intelligence service in our country. So for us to disband CIO after winning an election does not make us saints at all. Because if we don't intercept intelligence to protect the country, then the country will be under attack. The attack that Zimbabwe is facing today is as a result of CIO failures. The department that we entrusted in gathering intelligence, analyzing intelligence, and initiating protections has been doing nothing. They were busy protecting thieves. Vachirembera mudzimotikari vachinzi ndo close security. Vachirembera mudzimotikari vachitadza kuprotecta nyika ichibirwa nana 𝗍𝗵𝗴𝗵𝗁. A country that turned those CIOs into a ferret force instead of a counterintelligence unit to assist in protecting Zimbabweans, they create ferret force to attack Zimbabweans. In a similar way, the Rhodesians were attacking the people of Rhodesia. What I'm saying here, ladies and gentlemen, there is wealth of information. Wealth of information on the operations of the Central Intelligence Organization. Ukaenda kumabvuku abvunza takatora tonderendera kanouraya ndiani, unongonzi masiyayo. Ukabvunza kutongogara amene anzi vana Zorro Duru vakafa nei, vana Moveni Mahachi vakafa nei, kunongouya kuchonzi masiyayo. Andiona izvo tikataura kuti kuparents wakafa nei, kuri kunzi masiyayo. And worse still, with these coup leaders, ED and Chiwenga, who stormed into State House, who stormed State House in 2017. They have created uncertainty for our country. Our country has got no future at all. Koma Arnold Joe, Zimbabwe has no future at all. And the more, It's exactly 6 or 7 years since, 6 years since Mugabe left. What has ZANU-PF done? Nothing. Instead, they become, as you're going, GB brother, the rape case is as bad as murder case. Definitely. Rape case, as I've mentioned, this is as good as murder. Death sentence for rape will be justified. But a president of a country has seen it fit to pardon a rapist who raped a 9-year-old girl. Because he has raped teenagers before, has raped people before. And him on. So, what I'm saying is, people who seize power through violence, they've got no remorse. This is why you see they go to pardon rapists. Because they've got no remorse. They don't follow the constitution of a country. They are not even scared of the people who wrote that constitution. The masses who chose to be governed by what they wrote in that constitution. So the problem is we've got a government which says the power through coup, and they are running the country relying on military force, relying on secret police, on a CIO, relying on spies, my informants, people who interrogate and torture Zimbabweans. And they use this electoral cohesion, force, which they pretend that this is consent. They say, oh, the people of Zimbabwe have consented. My poster for ED, consented. Teachers for ED, consented. They use force. They force. Right now, my teacher angari ku training. They're going to teachers for ED, but for training. And those teachers, my teachers for ED training, are going to run the election for 2023. This is why you see that why Edi Mnangagwa is so scared about Nelson Chamisa. Because when he came into political arena as head of state, proclaiming himself to be head of state, he created an illusion of popular support, which is not there. Edi Mnangagwa has no support. ZANU-PF has got no support. This is why you see he quickly jumped in and stopped Nicky Mangwana from releasing results of their primary elections. So people really wanted to see ZANU-PF countrywide. Masero, they failed to garner 1.5 million votes. And they tell you that they want 5 million votes for Edi Mnangagwa. Where are they going to get the people? Well, Masero Zakushika 1.5 million people. This means Mnangagwa created an illusion of popular support, which he doesn't have. He does not have support. Kana mainyepero wanzu msangano wezano wakasimba kumasero, hauna kusimba kumasero. The results are there for you to have a look. Mima akazoto stopa mangu Nicky Mangwana kuti Nicky Mangwana uri kuburitsa ma results atisina kuudza kuti buritsa. We also from that from those results which were shown by Nicky Mangwana on Twitter, that ZANU-PF failed to garner 1.5 million votes nationwide. Masero's our esse. Masero is ZANU-PF esse nationwide. They failed to garner 1.5 million votes. Kana wachiti msangano wakasimba ku Masero, you want less than 1.5 million votes. Where are they going to get the 5 million people to vote for Edi? And Edi Mona. So ordinary Zimbabweans who are not aligned to ZANU-PF. They constitute about 13 point or 14 point, let's say 13.5 million people. ZANU-PF out of 15 million people has got 1.5 people, 1.5 million people. That means their chances of winning 2023 election is very slim. So ordinary Zimbabweans, they are going to vote for 𝗁𝗶𝘁. Because ZANU-PF has already lost this election. Hear it from me. Masero zvakaonembati musangano wakasimba kumasero vakatadza kuwana 1.5 million votes countrywide. That is a defeat. ZANU-PF has already lost that election. This is why you see they are now forcing ordinary Zimbabweans to liken Mugabe, to liken Mnangagwa, to recite Mnangagwa's name, vachivaimbisa vanhu vachiunotora mabhazi vachiita sei, to try to indoctrinate and instill fear in the ordinary Zimbabweans to try and vote for Mnangagwa. So this new dispensation, I am telling you guys, it reigns this country with the terror. But if you look at their primary election results, where all their cells participated nationwide, they failed to garner 1.5 million votes. They can only win this election by using fear and terror. But as far as I know, ZANU-PF has already lost that election. That's good news to you, Zimbabweans. Very good news to you. ZANU-PF exposed this itself. They went into primary elections and failed to garner 1.5 million votes nationwide. They exposed themselves. Kusvika vazoti ho makasa musaburitse results ngonyore kuti wina kundiana. Because they've seen that we were calculating. We were summing up the results to see how many people does ZANU-PF have nationwide. It has got less than 1.5 people, 1.5 million people. So that is a defeat in any election. Akusina kwa inoenda ZANU, ndo vanhu vayo chete. Andidi mona. Saka ka-cult personality ka ED, kekuyuza terror and fear. Ikako is political nonsense that I'm talking about, which we have tolerated for too long. And this must be stopped. The way we stop is to mobilize our relatives, our friends, colleagues, say, look, 2023 must be the decisive year to say ZANU-PF must go. Because if we don't do that, I can see Zimbabwe will be rocked by a series of rebellions. There will be pockets and pockets of resistance. People will rebel against the government. People are going to rebel against ED. This is what ED is afraid of. He is even afraid of his own people. That's why Mnangagwa anofamba battalion of armed forces. Achinoadresa msangano wake rake revanhu veZANU-PF. Vanhu vemasero eZANU. When ED is going to address his cells, vanotora masibhazi osa kumasero otuta vanhu vaunganidza parara ED. Kana akuenda ipapo, he doesn't go as a leader. He goes ipapo like a rebel leader with armed bandits, with all sorts of ma-RPK, ma-LMG, ma-bazooka, ma-chi, ma-pistols, ma-begani, ma-pistols. Around him, Anengar is surrounded with armed bandits, armed people. And those people, why does he go and address his people with armed thugs? It's because he's afraid of them. He's afraid of his own people who imposed him on an unwilling population by the military. So Mnangagwa is very scared of his own people. Then Varakashvoti, they want to give him 1.5 or they want to give him 5 million votes. Urukona vhurikai pandiri kutaura kuti hapana pamunoona Mnangagwa achinoadresa rari rezano asina masoja ari armed nepfuti. Hapana pamunoona asina convoy ine ma-anti-air. Ari kutya ndege dzipi dziri kuuya kuzomurova. Unoona mazi-anti-air, matenga, machii, masoja, ma-RPK, ma-LMG, mabhazuka, magrenade, mabomb, vakatakura vachinogadha. Asi ari kuenda kunoadresa vanhu vezano. So we have got someone who is afraid of his own people, who is afraid of his political party. He knows that he has turned everyone in ZANU-PF his enemy. Today, everyone anenge achingoimba pfe and mapfe acho ndo ari kutyiwa nemukuru wavo ari kuti pfe wacho vari kumutya, anotya vanhu vake. And so what I'm saying here is, kana wanga usina tarisiro yeVictory 2023 chitozviziva kuti Mnangagwa arova pasi. Dai anga asingatye vanhu vake, nobody is kuti vanhu vake vanomuda. So his people are reigned with the terror and fear, just like any Zimbabwean. Hakuna munhu anoda kuramba, kana nyangwe ari mwana wako chaiwo karamba wakabata band every day uchidzvanya, hazvibude. Andimona hazvibude. Zvamuri kuona izvozvo ndo zvamuri kuona Gaddafi akazofa sembwa, akazononhongwa pasi pebridge. Imagine kuti munhu aizviita a strong man, Africa's strongest military leader, akazonhongwa ari mubiriji. Muzvimabiriji, kune mabiriji makuru ayo, zvipombi zvimabiriji zvinoerera mvura zviya, ndomo vakanozvomorwa vaGaddafi imomo. Asi aimbonzwa vachitaura kuti handitye inini kuchinzi kwabhombo kwaGaddafi waenda ikoko. Asi takazoona awanda akunovhomorwa kunge mwena kunge mbeva. Former strongman. This is where Mnangagwa is going. And because we know that ZANU-PF is a satanic organization which controls Zimbabwe, tries to turn Zimbabwe into a cult country. But that is going to be stopped by the people of Zimbabwe. And if you go to Libya, Muammar Gaddafi started ruling Libya in 1969, before I was born. And he was removed in 2011. He was killed in 2011. Most of these dictators, they die through death. They leave power through death. And more. Saka you will find kuti vanoramba vachita zvavari kuti vana Mnangagwa izvo. Chinongoita kubayiwa chete. Bozi vanhu vanofamba nezvombo kumashure vaye vakavaunganidza. Ndo vanhu vakapandukira Gaddafi. Vanhu vake vakamukiya. Ndakanzwa munhu akuti ma-Americans kati ma-videos aripo when Gaddafi was punished, was apprehended. If you look at those videos, apana paunoona ma-American paya. Those were Libyans who got rid of rubbish. Gaddafi was rubbish. And all. So it's very unfortunate that the people of Zimbabwe has been under hammer for quite some time, to the extent that we thought drug trafficking is a business. MaZimbabweans vakutoita zvepa drugs. MaZimbabweans takutoenda voluntary slavery, kukwira ndege tichazoita kugeza chembe richasei. Zvese tatopinda voluntary slavery. And one. Saka tiri kutaura kuti 2023 must be a year you guys must use your oblangata. Yakataura na Paul Matarukan. Use your oblangata, man. Andimona. Because we must take a responsibility to ensure that we vote for a government that is able to assist you to feed yourself. A government that is that does not enforce itself upon you and pauperize you. A government that we need a government that does not release rapists from prison. Those people convicted of raping a 9-year-old man, a 9-year-old girl. After that, that person is released from prison. Anzenda hako, enda anzi wanzichizwa na ngozi ndazenda hako kumba. Andiona, ndazenda hako kumba. I don't think we need a government that doesn't respect human life like that. That doesn't respect women. Let's give political mandate to a leader we know who runs Zimbabwe in a modern way. We are very behind development as a country. So we need to develop our country so that future generations will see our worth. I am telling you, these videos, if posted on YouTube, they will live forever. And the people would understand that we were a very silly generation that lived without a purpose, that lived in a country run by opportunistic people, that saw Zimbabwe collapse directly. We are witnessing our country collapsing. So these people, the future generations of Zimbabweans, will quickly have a view. They will create a view of how we were. Imagine 100 years to come, when you tell Zimbabweans that there was a leader who couldn't even speak even his mother language, kumpa speech chiwenga utiverenga. I am saying this because I want 100 years to come people to listen to this. I know I will be long gone, but I want Zimbabweans by that time to listen to this. In 2017, there was a coup in November where a vice president who can read and write, who can neither write, who can read and write, was appointed to be vice president in the 21st century. And that person became Minister of Health. Instead, he went to Russia to source for helicopters to ferry people from accident places to take them to a hospital where there was no hospital bed, where there is no paracetamol, where there are no nurses, no doctors, no running water, no electricity. The helicopter, the costs of those helicopters could have equipped all Zimbabwe hospitals with sufficient medication to make sure kuti kana warwara uchanotorwa woiswa muchipatara chine mishonga. Saka generations to come, 100 years from 2023, 100 years to come, which is about 21-23, hapana anenge achipo panapa, but panenge pane vanhu vanenge vachiteerera zvatiri kutaura nhasi in 2023. Kuno Zimbabwe yaive nevanhu vakapusa to the extent yekuti Minister of Health anga asikagone kunyora, aenda kunotenga zvikopo-kopo zvekutakura vanhu vachiendeswa kuzvipatara zvisina mishonga, kusina vana chiremba, kusina vana mukoti. Saka takapusa. Ukanzwa kuti chichemo muZimbabwe takapusa. Andiri mona. So we have reached an extent yekuti dai yanga iri company, it was supposed to have been shut down, Zimbabwe. Andiri mona. Saka ndichada kuramba ndichitaura. Guys, let's meet tomorrow. Timboona. Saka the solution ndataura. Solution here and there good. We don't want to get to an extent of asking ourselves that 𝘁𝗵𝗁 election yearing. Whilst I am telling you today before the election that look guys, let's raise money. Vanhu vari kucollecta mari idzodzo tibatsirane to guard against theft of our elections, so that achazobvunzana kuti zvakabirwa toita sei. We don't want to create chaos. We don't want conflict in our country. We want a free and fair election. where every Zimbabwean will go and choose, have this freedom to choose. Unoziva kuti kuvota must not be a voluntary activity. It must be a duty that wakatogara unoziva kuti I've got a duty to choose a government that will run my life for the next 5 years. And all that makes you an appropriate citizen of a country. Because if you don't practice this, if you don't vote, that means you are allowing inferiority to reign over you. An inferior person like Chiwenga will be your president and more. Something that we should do away with. Zimbabwe is a very good country, very rich country, with a good reputation of feeding Africa. And unfortunately, it has become the basket case of Africa. But we had a very good reputation that we need to bring it back. We need Zimbabwe to be back on its feet and be the bread basket of Africa again. For this conversation, let me call it quits, ladies and gentlemen. Tosangana mangwana takuona kuti zvakambomira sei. Takuita focus our topics on elections. Tidzidzisana kuti zvinoitika musi kuvota, zvichaita sei, totariswa kuita sei, ndozvatakufocusa because the election is by the corner. So very soon there will be a proclamation of the dead when people are going to vote. Atete QD, ndatenda mwana wamai. So for tonight, let me say good night. Let's meet tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Good night.